The people sitting right at this desk, right behind this desk or another desk, you get...
A tariff storm is hitting hard. Prices are rising, from coffee to gas. Even strong allies are now upset. Are Americans paying for Trump's choices? His administration starts with bold economic moves. Trump raises tariffs on steel, aluminum, and cars. Not just on rivals, but on allies like Canada and Germany too. He claims it's to stop fentanyl from entering the U.S. through Canada. But less than 1% of fentanyl comes from there. The argument is weak. The impact is clear. Gas is expensive. Food costs more. Markets are unstable. Working class people and retirees are hurting. What seems strong now feels like a burden. Canada won't stay silent. Foreign Minister Melanie Joly says, the relationship between the U.S. and Canada will never be the same. Canada wants a fair agreement. After U.S. tariffs hit steel and cars, Canada strikes back. They tax American goods. This isn't just trade, it's broken trust. Prime Minister Mark Carney says Canada won't be worn down. He urges Americans to speak up. The clash spreads beyond trade talks. It's changing how people see each other. U.S. companies now struggle without stable supply chains. A once strong partnership is in danger. China responds fast. They raise tariffs, up to 104%. They hit U.S. soybeans and sorghum. They stop fentanyl cooperation. They limit U.S. movies and banks. Tensions grow. VP J.D. Vance adds fuel by calling Chinese factories farmers. China pushes back harder. The trade war deepens. Germany is next. Trump mocks their green energy policy. He says, Germany went to wind. The wind wasn't blowing too much. Now they're back to coal. Chancellor Merkel responds. She defends Germany's clean energy plan. It's about long-term progress. Germany won't go back to coal. Their values are clear. The U.S.-Germany relationship is now tense. Back home, Americans are feeling it. Everyday groceries now cost more. Bananas, shrimp, and salmon face big tariffs. Bananas from Costa Rica and Ecuador? 10%. Shrimp from Indonesia? 32%. From Vietnam? 46%. Salmon from Norway? 16%. Coffee from Brazil and Ethiopia? Also taxed. Prices are rising. Grocery stores can't absorb these costs for long. Once supplies run out, prices jump. And who pays the price? Regular people. People living on fixed incomes. People working blue-collar jobs. They feel it first, and the hardest. Now, things may get worse. China freezes all investments in the U.S. Quiet move, big impact. Could trigger a crisis. In 2016, China invested $46 billion. In 2024, just $2.3 billion. Now, almost zero. Why stop investing? China has a plan. They're pulling money from the U.S., redirecting it elsewhere. Places that fit their goals better. This isn't panic, it's strategy. U.S. businesses are panicking. Hartwell Tech lost $180 million overnight. They took emergency loans. Interest, 11.3%. Nearly double the normal rate. These loans come with risk. If the crisis drags on, companies might fail. Higher interest hurts everyone. It raises prices. It squeezes families. Meanwhile, tariffs on Chinese goods push prices even higher. The average U.S. household pays $1,950 more each year. S&P 500 companies are suffering. Profits are falling. Inflation stays high, 3.6%. People feel stuck. Wages stay flat. Prices climb. Life gets harder. Major U.S. projects are frozen. Intel chip factories in Ohio, stopped. Battery and robot projects, cancelled. Why? No Chinese money. 62% of manufacturers report cash problems. Production plans are on hold. It's not just about business, it's about jobs. Millions of them. Projects stall. People lose work. Capital is leaving fast. $120 billion pulled from US ETFs in 90 days. It's not a dip, it's an exodus. Investors are worried. They see instability. Countries like Norway and Japan are backing out too. This means the US has less power, less money, and a mountain of debt is coming. $4.1 trillion in corporate debt is due by 2026. With no capital, companies turn to junk bonds. Interest, 9.6%. That's twice what it was in 2022. A debt crisis looms. The stock market is up. But people are still losing. Trump tweets. Dow jumps 2,000 points. Markets cheer. But everyday Americans do not. They've lost savings, retirement funds, investments. Wages stay low. Costs stay high. The charts rise. But life doesn't get better. People don't need stock gains. They need stability. The disaster is real. In a week, $10 trillion vanished from global markets. Experts say it's not weak fundamentals, it's confusion. One moment, tariffs are up. Next, allies are spared. No clear plan. Just chaos. Bond yields drop. Currencies swing. Capital flees. Investors are nervous. The danger isn't the economy, it's the message. No clear path. Just policy on the fly. Alliances are breaking. The White House says 75 nations want talks. But allies doubt it. EU, Japan, Canada, unsure. Years of trust destroyed in days. Some say the tariffs seem emotional. No warnings. No talks. Just decisions. Allies want fair renegotiation. But they need rules. Not surprise changes. They're now planning deals without the US new alliances. New plans. The future is unclear. The Dow rose fast. But what happens in 90 days? There's no roadmap. Just delay. Small businesses are suffering. Higher import costs. Rising expenses. No help from Washington. No guidance. If this continues, a recession could hit. The danger isn't just financial, it's trust. America's global leadership is at risk. A 150% tariff, an unprecedented move by the United States, has sparked global controversy, as Washington directly targets BRICS nations in what appears to be a desperate response to a shifting world order. If BRICS poses no real threat, why is the US reacting with such intensity? The answer lies in the rapid decline of the US dollar's global dominance. In 2000, over 70% of global foreign exchange reserves were held in US dollars, but by 2023, that figure had fallen to just 58%, according to IMF data. This drop isn't just about fading confidence, it reflects a global movement toward de-dollarization, particularly among BRICS nations. Russia and China now conduct over 90% of their bilateral trade in rubles and yuan, while India purchases Russian oil using rupees. New BRICS members like Iran, Egypt, and the UAE are also experimenting with local currency settlements. BRICS, once seen as a symbolic alliance, has transformed into a serious economic bloc. With new members joining and others like Argentina, Nigeria, Thailand, and even Saudi Arabia considering entry, the group now accounts for over 40% of the global population and 31.5% of global GDP by purchasing power parity. In retaliation, former President Donald Trump announced a sweeping 150% tariff on goods from BRICS countries that abandon the US dollar. This aggressive policy mirrors his 2018 tariffs on China, which backfired as China retaliated, damaging US agriculture and increasing prices for American consumers. Today, the risks are even higher. The U.S. relies heavily on BRICS nations for electronics, rare earth minerals, pharmaceuticals, and food. Tariffs on these essential imports would fuel inflation, raise consumer prices, and hurt American industries. Meanwhile, the rest of the world is no longer waiting for the U.S. to lead. In a stunning incident in March 2024, journalist Jeffrey Goldberg was mistakenly added to a Signal group chat used by top U.S. military officials to coordinate an airstrike on Yemen. The chat, filled with real-time intelligence and strike details, continued for hours without anyone realizing an outsider was present. When the airstrike was launched, everything Goldberg had read unfolded exactly as discussed. This breach, dubbed Signal Gate, exposed serious flaws in operational security and prompted calls for a full investigation. Despite the blunder, some officials praised the mission's coordination, raising concerns about how the administration defines success and chaos. Trump, meanwhile, appeared unfazed by the economic and security fallout. He declared April 2, Liberation Day, insisting that tariffs would bring back money and respect, despite warnings from economists that they would raise prices and destabilize markets. Historical data shows that U.S. import tariffs have averaged below 2% in recent decades. Trump's plan would push them to post-World War II levels of around 8%, triggering massive cost increases for American consumers. Automobiles alone could become $2,000 to $15,000 more expensive due to increased costs of imported parts and electronics. Yet there's no clear strategy for strengthening domestic manufacturing, meaning Americans would pay more without gaining new jobs. Canada, a longtime ally with a clean trade record, has also been swept into the tariff war, leaving Canadians confused and betrayed. As 90% of global trade faces disruption, countries are likely to retaliate, worsening supply chain issues and driving inflation even higher. Businesses in the U.S. are left in limbo, unable to plan for the future amid erratic policy changes. Trump shifts strategies frequently, demanding low car prices one day while raising tariffs the next. This instability freezes investment, shrinks production, and chips away at consumer confidence. Without a coherent plan, the promise of a stronger economy is fading. Americans are already feeling the squeeze from rising costs in housing, healthcare, and education, and with essential benefits like Medicaid and Social Security on the chopping block, the public's patience is wearing thin. Even longtime supporters are growing uneasy. Fox News, typically a Trump ally, can no longer ignore the economic turmoil. Financial analyst Larry Kudlow recently admitted that the stock market had dropped over 700 points and acknowledged the widespread fear. Trump's refusal to address inflation or present a long-term economic strategy, combined with mounting scandals like Signal Gate, paints a grim picture of a presidency mired in chaos. As investor confidence plummets and middle-class families struggle to afford basic necessities, the vision of America First begins to resemble an economic and political collapse. The American people are left wondering how much longer they can afford to wait for promises that may never come true.